Our next speaker will be Kathryn Thompson, who graduated magna cum laude from the University of Notre Dame with a BS in pre-professional science and theology. As an undergraduate, Kathryn worked as a caretaker for a neighbor with cerebral palsy and also was a mentor in faith through the Institute of Church Life. Kathryn conducted audiology research at Cincinnati Children's Hospital and was a part-time surgical technician. She also performed piano bi-weekly at the Holy Cross House Retirement Home in South Bend, Indiana. At Pritzker, Kathryn is a laboratory coordinator for the Community Health Clinic and volunteers as a minister of spiritual care at the hospital. She participated in Pritzker's annual Remedy service learning trip to Peru. Under Dr. Bree Andrews and the Preemie U project, Kathryn researched parent involvement and engagement at the bedside of NICU children. Under the mentorship of Dr. John Yoon, Kathryn conducts a focus group at Montgomery Place, exploring how seniors process aging. Today, Kathryn will present to us a paper called Preemie U, Improving Parent Engagement at the NICU Bedside. Kathryn Thompson.
So the birth of a preterm infant can be a very stressful event for both the parents and the child. As the parent's child is in the neonatal intensive care unit, otherwise known as NICU, parents have been known to experience anxiety, depression, insomnia, and even post-traumatic stress disorder. This, combined with the high-tech, high-intensity environment of the NICU, can often leave parents feeling disempowered and unsure of their role in their child's care. Both observation and studies have shown that interventions that engage parents in their infant's progress decrease parental stress and anxiety, increase parent and infant bonding, and even decrease length of stay. For these reasons, our neonatologists at the University of Chicago developed the Preemie U mobile application. Preemie U as in you, the parent. It's a mobile application designed to help parents engage the child at the bedside and track their progress through the NICU. The app tracks the progress of the premature infant in 5 categories: breathing, sleeping, eating, temperature, and growth. These are 5 categories that the child must make progress in order to go home. After answering a series of questions or a series of statements as though they're from the child's perspective, the app will assign a color to each of these categories. So for example, these statements might be like, I am using a ventilator to help me breathe, yes or no. I am starting to gain weight, usually on some feedings that are either breast milk or formula, yes or no. So after the parent answers a series of these questions, the app will assign a color to each of these stages, with purple being of the highest acuity, with the longest time to go in the NICU, and yellow being almost ready for discharge. Once all of the categories are yellow, that's usually a sign that the baby's getting ready to go home. The app then assigns infant-specific health information determined by the colors in each category. So our objective this summer, as part of the SRP project, was to evaluate the effectiveness of mobile technology at the bedside for educating and engaging parents, as well as to understand if the quality of life in parents saw any improvement using the app, and additionally to understand which groups of parents were impacted by the Preemie U app the most. So our study population included parents over the age of 18 at 2 different locations, at Commerce NICU and at North Shore Evanston NICU. And we used 2 data measurements. The first was the Preemie U composite survey, and the second was the PEDS-QL, or Quality of Life Family Impact Module. Now I'll come back to these in a second. At enrollment, we administered both surveys to the parent, and we created a login on the Preemie U app for the parents and familiarized them with how to use it. We then had weekly follow-ups with the parents throughout the duration of their child's NICU stay, whether that was only a few weeks or as many as 8 to 10 weeks. At each of those follow-up appointments, we would go through the app again, answer any questions the parents had, as well as re-administer that PedsQL Family Impact Module survey. And then at study closure, which was we aimed to be within a week of the child's discharge, we would re-administer both surveys and answer any final questions they had about the app. In total, we enrolled 71 families, 52 at Comer and 19 at North Shore. We collected a total of 213 measurements in those weekly follow-ups, and we had 45 families by study closure. So the average duration of study participation was roughly about a month, or 26 days. On average, we enrolled children when they were 30 weeks gestation, on average, our children were born at 30 weeks gestational age, and we enrolled them within 3 weeks at 33 weeks gestational age. By the time we closed them out, the average age was 37 weeks, so just about ready to be discharged. Here you can see that the stages the children began in at enrollment were pretty evenly divided, again with purple being of the highest acuity and yellow being near ready to go home. By the time of completion, 93% of the children had reached an average of yellow categories in each of those 5 categories we looked at earlier. So the Preemie plus U composite survey looked at the use of mobile technology at the bedside, and we found that over 90% of parents had access to a smartphone or tablet for internet use, and they used that device for more than 30 minutes per week to look up information about the NICU. We also saw that 98 in the bottom box there, 98% of parents said an app at the NICU bedside would be helpful. So that clearly demonstrated a need for us. So overall, there was a significant improvement in the quality of life in the parents using the Preemie plus U app from the time of enrollment to the time of closure. The Wilcoxon signed rank test said that of the 59 parents we were able to meet with more than 2 times, 43 of those parents had an improvement in quality of life. So that means roughly 73% of parents experienced an increase of quality of life after participation. When we broke down that quality of life survey by the different domains, we saw that there was an improvement specifically in the physical, emotional, worry, and daily activities domains. There was also an upward trend in the communications domain. Additionally, it's worth noting that none of these domains went down. When we broke down the quality of life scores by the child's acuity or stage at any time throughout the stay, we found no significant difference. So in a way, this sort of provided a control for us because one might expect that a parent's quality of life would just naturally improve over the course of a NICU stay. But here you can see that parents with children of the highest acuity had similar quality of life to parents with children who are about to be discharged. And you can imagine there's a lot of different compounding factors that could create that, such as children at home or work that they've been missing or nights spent in the NICU. And finally, we broke down the improvement in quality of life by the gestational age at birth of the infant. We wanted to see which group the app may have helped the most. And we found that it helped, that it was most significant in parents with 25 to 28 weekers, which you could expect because it's a longer duration of stay. And one thing the app we thought did really well is it helped to mark smaller improvements in progress throughout a long NICU stay. Parents would look forward to seeing the color go from purple to blue in breathing and then from blue to orange in growth. And it just helped mark these smaller goals and give parents kind of tangible hope as we went through. Additionally, though, it's worth noting we saw an improvement in quality of life in the 33 to 35 weekers, their parents. And we think that may have helped because parents often with those older children can't really wrap their head around why the child's in the NICU, especially next to some much sicker children. And so the app helped to sort of set a few goals that this child had before going home. So the study was limited to 2 centers, and the biggest thing is the quality of life trajectory in the general NICU population remains unknown. Additionally, in the future, the research team won't always be there to help with the app, but we did find that the medical team and especially the nursing staff was more savvy than any of us with the technology and helping families work through it. So overall, we saw an improvement in the quality of life in the parents using the Preemie U app from the time of enrollment to study closure. And we had a high retention throughout the study. So in the future, we hope to continue enrollment to perhaps administer PEDS-QL of families not using the app to serve as a control. And on that, I would like to thank everyone listed here for their help and support in the project, in particular my PI and mentors, Dr. Bree Andrews and Dr. Maren Arnolds, as well as the Bucksbaum Institute for all of their support. Thank you. So part of our exclusion criteria from the beginning was any children who had a very specific circumstance, like an upcoming surgery that we knew would maybe the app wouldn't be the most helpful for because it wouldn't be the more traditional trajectory. That being said, we still had some families who, something would happen along the way. And it definitely still provided a resource for them, but we would kind of take a step back and let them use it as much as they wanted. I think in those cases, it was helped them maybe see it as more realistic, like, okay, this is really what's happening. But yeah, it's definitely a complicated thing. And actually the app developers are trying to continue to build in like new scenarios to make it a little bit wider. Thank you.